Welcome back to Merryvale. I'm at the property today and it is going to be a hot one. Heat index is around 105 degrees, so I am trying to get as early a start as I can. However, I've run into a hiccup. I drove over an hour to the property. I thought I had everything I needed, and the one thing that I didn't bring, the keys for my tractor. Somehow I had it in my mind that I thought they were on my truck keychain, and when I looked at the truck keychain, I swore that I saw them, but guess what? They're not there. So Mrs. Claus is going to rescue me and bring them out. In the meantime, I've got some things to do around here. Thought I might show you a few things, but also to take care of some things like greasing and other things while I wait for Mrs. Claus. You know, the last time I filmed out here, it was my first time really working on the property. And that day it was about 90 degrees and I was working in direct sunlight for most of the day. It was also middle of the afternoon, hottest part of the day. Well, I've learned something since then, after that experience. And first of all, Santa doesn't do well in the heat. Not like I used to. But I've gotten a little smarter, I hope. I recently picked up a new hat. Keep the sun off my neck and my head. And I picked up this ice vest off of Amazon. It's about $40, comes with 24 ice packs. But I am going to give it a shot here. I've used it a couple of times and it lasts for about 90 minutes to 2 hours. Came with 3 sets of ice packs. I've got the other ice packs in the truck. I hope in a cooler. Hope they can stay cool as long as possible. It's not going to be perfect. I actually bought a portable freezer to store the ice packs in while I was out at the property, but something's wrong with the plug in my old truck and it's not throwing out enough power to run the cooler, or the freezer, so I'm going to have to look into that. But the hat has definitely helped, and so is this ice vest. And I'll put a link in the comments for both. I am not an Amazon affiliate yet, so I don't get anything if you buy those items from Amazon, but in the spirit of being helpful, I'll just put those in the description. So while I'm waiting for Mrs. Claus, I think I'm going to get the grease done on the tractor, and that way it'll be ready to go when she gets here. And if I still have some time after that, I'll take you on a little tour of what I've already done. So stay with us. So one of the first things I've been working on is this trail. The trail was already semi here when I bought the place a few months ago, and I've been trying to widen it out, clear it out on both sides a little bit to basically make sure that one, I could get access to the far side of the property over there, and also because I'm trying to figure out just the lay of the land and where the stream, which runs over in that direction somewhere, where that is, how big it is, how deep it is. I haven't gotten back that far yet. And also on the other side of that stream is a road access, and so power is going to have to come from that side, and water may also come from that side, although water may also come from a different side of the property. I'm trying to figure out which one that's going to be. Secondly, I've been clearing space just to put my equipment. I need a place to keep it while I'm not at the property, and so I've been looking for a place to set up a little shelter or a barn or something like that. So it'll probably be in this area because it's easy for me to get to, but as you can see, there is a lot of area to be cleared. Let's head back this way. This was actually one of the potential home sites that I had identified early on the property. However, we did a little test back here and it appeared that it wasn't going to perk, and so we decided not to do it here, and in fact we're going to do it way over on the other side of the private drive. But this will make a good spot, I think, for an outbuilding of some kind, and also under the shade of these trees here would be a good spot for a place to cool down until we get everything set up. I've been trying to mow down a lot of these little pine trees, these little 7-foot, 8-foot pine trees. They're very young, they grow like weeds, they grow into those kinds of trees up there. So I've been trying to mow those down because I don't want more of those. What I want is more of these hardwood varieties, like this one here. I believe this is some kind of maple, not sure exactly what kind, but I've been saving the hardwood trees as much as I can, as much as makes sense. Like for example, these trees here, I can't recall what these are. I don't remember if these are sycamore. They sure have a nice big leaf like I know the sycamore has. I'm going to have to do a plant identification and see if I can remember what those are. But I've been saving those kinds of trees. I've been saving a lot of little oak trees, and then there's other trees that I don't know anything about. For example, this tree right here, I'm going to have to look it up later. I've never really seen a tree like this before, at least not up north. So these may be native to the south. I'm not sure, but that's kind of what I'm doing as I clear things. Is I'm selectively mowing down certain trees and leaving other trees in place. So this land used to be forested, and then it was logged. And one of the things that you can see at this part of the property is these long corridors of tall pines. At some point this was logged, and then they planted the pines as cheap wood, cheap filler to grow back in its place. And when they did, they planted them in these long rows. I don't really care for long corridors of trees, but at the same time, it'll make putting trails between them quite simple. So yeah, really, I'm looking to improve the number of hardwoods that grow on the property and reduce the number of pines. Now, you'd think that would be weird for Santa Claus because Santa Claus loves his Christmas trees, but these trees would be pretty hard to decorate. If I put pine trees back in, I'll put in something that is more useful to Santa Claus. Now this over here is the edge, one of the edges of my property, and I've been clearing this out with a brush hog, and you can see I've made some pretty good progress. That where it's not mowed is the edge of the property line, and then, as I said, I believe about probably another 100 feet into the woods is that stream that runs and splits my property. But for now, I've got more clearing to do. And what I'm looking to do here is clear all of this back to the private drive so that I can access this part of the property. This is the only part of the property that isn't grown up with trees. And this would probably be a good candidate for where my garden might be, or where I might put in some pasture. But what I'm running into is some big problems. As I brush hog this, it hasn't been mowed in quite some time, and so I am finding all kinds of things like tree stumps and big logs. So I have to go through very carefully when I'm brush hogging. I have to keep the front end loader down, and I have to go real slow. And if I see that front end loader pop up, I know that there's something there. Or if I start to hear that brush hog starting to thump in the back, I got to be very quick to pull it up, because there's a good chance that I'm hitting a stump. Some of the stumps are cut off real low to the ground, even with the ground, and so you don't see them. Others of them are cut a little higher, and so those are usually easier to find. But one way or another, I find them. Hopefully I find them in a good way and not in a bad way. Now you can kind of see over that clearing. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but there's a kind of a clearing in the pine trees where you have all the tall pine trees around. You have some hardwoods over to the right, and then more pines to the left. And then in the middle here, there's a clearing that has been cleared before, where there's a bunch of small little pine trees, more of these little bitty 8-footers, 10-footers, and young trees. They grow so fast. But that area over there is on the other side of the private drive, and that is where I want to put our home. Mrs. Claus and Santa Claus's North Pole outpost here in the south. So that's where we want to build a house, and eventually I'm going to get up there and start to clear that, or I may have to hire that out. I'm just not sure that my little tractor's cut out for something that large, an area that large and that densely overgrown. Now the other day I was out here and I saw some really nice deer. I could not tell if they were male or female. I didn't really get a good look at them. All I got to see was their backsides. And then I've also seen a plethora of rabbit and other small wildlife, small game out here. I do know that on this property there are wild boar and there are coyotes and other wildlife that roam. And so I'm always on the lookout for that. At some point, you know, hopefully we can run those boar out of here because they can be pretty destructive. But yeah, so all this has been cleared in the last few couple of weeks, and then I cleared more over there. I'm also attempting to locate all the pins from the survey so that I can mark the property lines. So here's one here, and then there's another one over that way, straight over that way, that I have not found yet. And then of course if you go this way, it goes straight out to the road over that stream. That's about 1,000 feet, and I've got to delineate that line and mark it as I go. So here's one of those stumps that you could get hit real easy with a brush hog if you're not looking for them. This one's actually on the neighbor's property, but I'm guessing he probably wouldn't mind if I removed it. At some point somebody's been out here mowing, because this is not nearly as high as this over here. Other things I have been working on include mowing around the edges of the private drive, trying to keep the weeds back and create some shoulders to be able to pull off on. This is a good place where I'll be able to park my truck until I clear more of this land. One of the things I think I want to do is I want to clear a spot over here for material drop-offs for when we build our home over here. I think the home builders will want that, and I'd rather they not charge me for it. So that's some things. Also grading this road. You may have seen in a past video, I got the box blade out for the first time, or actually it's a land plane, it's not a box blade. I could use a box blade because I need something with those scarifiers on it to rip loose the hard packed soil. But just using the land plane on this road, I took out a lot of the deep ruts and potholes, and have made it passable by car once more. So that's good. Okay, Mrs. Claus has come to my rescue. Now we can get to work. First thing I want to do is do some brush hogging. In fact, I'm going to do a lot of brush hogging. That's probably most of the content in this video, but I am going to clear as much as I can, and then later on, if I have time before it gets too hot, I might do some grading of the driveway again, especially some of the parts that I didn't really get to last time, and also grading on this little trail that I had started making. So hope you enjoy the video. Okay, so done along the driveway, and now I think what I'm going to do is try to punch through from the road here that I'm on to that area that I cleared a couple of weeks ago. All right, well, so that ground that I was trying to clear there is very, very rough. It's almost like, I forget what they're called. It's almost like downhill skiing, and they bounce off the bumps in the slope. I forget what that's called, but that's how rough it is in there, and it's really not conducive to bush hogging. I'm gonna probably need a bigger piece of equipment to clear that. Yeah, I just don't feel comfortable doing that with the brush hog. So I'm actually running out of the battery. I think I still want to do a little bit of clearing in the shade on that trail I was working on. So I think I'm going to work on that. But for now, I'm going to call it on this video. Thank you for watching. If you like this content, please follow, subscribe, like, and share. Share it with your friends, and I'll see you next time on Merryvale, where it's always Christmas.